Hello, and welcome to my Christmas explosion box tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how I like to assemble it. Just so you're aware, I've gone ahead and glued a few of the pieces together already just to save time for this video. The first thing I like to do is lay out all the pieces on the table, and then I'll group them together for each element. Once I've done that, I'll push everything off to the side, bring my mat onto the table to protect it from the glue and tape that I'm going to be using. We're going to start off by building the base of the box first. All you're going to do is fold along the score line that your machine created. You could use the Cricut scraper tool or even a credit card if you don't have one. I'll show you one more time at this speed before I speed it up. Now we're going to get into folding the Christmas trees. Basically, you want to take that top part, fold it towards you, take your Cricut scraper and put it along the score line on the Christmas tree and fold it backwards. Once you've done that, you can fully fold it over with your finger, and then I would run over it again with either your scraper or a credit card, whichever you're using. We'll do it again one more time at this speed before I speed it up. So take that top part, fold it towards you, grab your scraper, put it along the score line, and start folding it backwards. Let's grab those Christmas trees and just fold along those score lines using the scraper or credit card. Then we'll move on to gluing those trees to the base of the box. You're just going to center them to those pieces. You could use the score lines as a guide. The lines on the tree should line up with the lines of the tree on the base of the box. We'll move on to the other side of the box now. You'll see that I already glued one of the pieces, so you're just going to take that small piece and glue it to the center of the bigger piece, and then glue that entire thing to one side of the box. You'll take the other piece and put it on the opposite side of the box. Moving on to the bells. You're basically going to just be centering each piece to each other. The yellow and brown pieces are the exact same size. So what I'd recommend is you putting the glue on the yellow piece and then placing it onto the brown piece and then putting the glue on that and putting it to the center of the white. Now you might think that you would just want to take the bell and glue it to the center of the box. You could do that, but I wouldn't recommend it because once the top is on, you wouldn't see the entirety of the bell. So basically what I do is I look at the flap on the top of the box and I subtract that in my head from that side of the box, and then I'll center the bell according to that. That way, when the top of the box is on, the bell will be centered to that. Moving on to the top of the box. We're going to fold along the score lines just like we did with the base, and I'm going to run over those lines with my Cricut scraper again. Now we're going to glue those pieces to the center of the box, starting with the biggest one in a line. Once you've glued those pieces to the lid, we're going to finish assembling it. I like to use these reverse action tweezers to help. So I'll glue the flap, hold it on with my finger, and then I'll grab the reverse action tweezers to help hold it in place while it's drying, and I can move on to the next flap. If you don't have this tool, that's okay. You can just hold the piece until the glue dries. Now that we've got both the base of the box and the lid done, we can push them to the side and let them dry. I'm going to grab the first insert. We're going to fold along the score lines and use the scraper tool to run over them again. If you have a one-sided cardstock like me, you'll take those little pieces and glue them to the opposite side and center them to the circle flaps. That square piece off to the side is what's going to go inside of this insert. Here you can either hand write a note, or you can use your Cricut to write a note, or you can even put an image there. Let's move on to the piece that's going to hold your ornament. They will all be assembled the same way. So let's start off by folding along all the score lines and running over those lines with the Cricut scraper. Now we can move on to gluing the accent pieces. You're going to take this piece and center it to the entire thing. There should be an equal border along the outside edge and inside edge. The smaller pieces will reach from one end of the flap to the other, so there will only be a space on the top and bottom. Once all the accent pieces are on it, we can finish assembling this part. Basically, you're just going to put glue on the corner, and then just like we did with the lid, I'm going to use the reverse action clamps to hold the pieces together while they dry. Alright, let's move on to the second insert. Basically, we're just going to fold along all the score lines and then glue those flaps to the back part. This insert can be used to either hold a note, a picture, or even a gift card. Moving on to the third insert. You can see I've already glued one of the pieces here. You're just going to take the smaller piece, apply glue to it, and center it to the larger piece. Before we glue this one, we're going to fold it. The first piece will go backwards, the second part will go forwards, and then the third piece will bend backwards. You'll repeat the same process for this white piece. Backwards, forwards, backwards. We'll then glue these pieces together. So I'll take the smaller red piece and I'll apply glue to the entire thing, and then I'm going to center it to the white piece. Focusing on the edges first. The inner edges should line up perfectly with the inner edges of the white piece. Once that does, you can start pushing pieces down to make sure they're glued together. Now we're going to take that smaller piece and glue it just to the small flap of this red piece. Make sure you only apply glue to the small flap, otherwise this will not open properly. For this next part, I've pre-cut 3 pieces of double-sided mounting tape. I'm going to put them along each edge of this piece, avoiding the flap that sticks out. Then we're going to pull off the back side of the tape and center it to that gray piece. Now you'll notice my gray piece has nothing on it, but you can put a message or a photo there so it can be revealed once you pull on that flap. Alright, now we can move on to the fourth and final insert. This one's a little bit more complicated, and aside from the pieces that you cut, you're going to need a Ziploc bag and cut it to these measurements. You're going to take that plastic sheet and run it through these holes. The idea is to fold it over itself. So we're going to use double-sided tape in order to stick it together. It should be a snug fit. You don't want it to be too tight or too loose. The idea is it should be able to rotate around the card smoothly, like this. So what I'm going to do now is make sure the side I taped is completely pushed over to the left. Again, I've given you options for this insert. I have the green one stuck on that piece, but you can also fill it in with this little gray piece. You could put a message here or a photo here, and you'll want to use this size if that's what you're intending to do, because the entire paper will not be visible once you put this all together. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be putting this green cardstock on the other piece and centering it. We're now going to take this piece and use double-sided tape to stick it to the Ziploc bag. We're going to flip it over and do the same thing with the other piece, but we're going to do it on the right side this time. And we also want to make sure that the pieces are facing the same direction. So I'm going to apply my tape to the right side, and then I'm going to take that piece and flip it over and apply it to the tape. Again, I've pre-cut 6 pieces of double-sided mounting tape. We're going to use this to assemble the rest of the card. 3 pieces will go on the back and 3 pieces will go on the front. Just like we did with the other insert, you're going to avoid the flap that sticks out and put the tape on the other pieces. I recorded this with my phone and I put it on airplane mode, but I forgot to turn off Wi-Fi. So I got a phone call in the middle of this and it's about to cut out. Basically, to finish this, you're going to take the back of it, put it onto the back, and take the front and put it onto the front. The front is the part with the green cardstock. Now we've got to assemble the bow. I like to use my Cricut spatula tool in order to help me curve the bow. What I do is I put the cardstock between my thumb and my tool and I apply light pressure, do it a few times until it starts to curve it, and then I'll do it to the other side. Fold along the score lines that you see and then start to glue the pieces to each other. Take that final piece and center it to your bow. Then fold it back and glue that to itself. Let's grab the base of the box and the piece that's going to hold your ornament. I'm going to use glue, but you could also use double-sided tape if you like. Because I'm using glue and it could take a little while to dry, I'm going to repeatedly put pressure on the inside until it starts to stick. I'm even going to grab my spatula tool to apply more pressure. One by one, we'll grab each insert and start gluing it to the center of each flap. Let's grab the lid and the bow now so we can put them together. You can then grab an ornament that you bought at the store or made and place it inside of the box. Because there's 2 layers of cardstock on the trees, they're going to be a little hard to fold, so you're going to have to go back and fold them again. I'm going to take each tree and fold it to the left side of the box so that way they can all go in one direction. Now it's time to close the box, and I've found that if you have all the trees pointing in the same direction, it'll be a lot easier to close, like so. We'll put the lid over it to keep it closed, and there you go, your box is done. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or issues, and I'll try to get back to you.